Edit. It's a 4-letter word, but it's something that you have to do. So stay with us today for this episode as we discuss the process of editing your work using the Stoplight Method. Welcome to the Christian Indie Writers Podcast, where we inform, encourage, and support Christian indie writers on their journey toward publication. I'm Jennifer Carl Tong, and I write historical Christian romance.
I'm Christina Catane, and I write multiple genres, including Christian fantasy.
I'm Jamie Hirschberger. I write short fiction under the pen name J.R. Nichols.
Good morning, everyone. We are so glad to have you all here with us this beautiful Friday morning in Michigan. It's a beautiful Friday morning. Don't know where y'all are where you all are located. Tell us in the chat where you are listening. If you are not part of our Facebook group, you need to do that as well. But anyway, good morning, everyone. The first thing we always do here in the podcast is our What's Up. It's a chance for us to share with each other what's going on in our lives, personal, sometimes business related, writing related. So, Tina, what's up with you?
Well, I got a little bit of work done this week, so that was good. I'm feeling a little better, and that's about it.
You were struggling with some health issues last week. You're saying you're feeling better?
Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit better. So I was able to get a little bit done. I was in the writing room almost every day, so
That's
a good
awesome.
week.
Congratulations. Jen, what's up with you?
I got nothing done this week. I truly tried to work on my my blurb, and it just wasn't coming together. And on top of that, I was telling Tina before we went live, I'm just super stressed about what I have coming up the next couple of weeks. Actually, I have this next week especially. I'm out of town the whole week, but in 2 different trips, like to the point that they overlap. One trip that is like a leadership retreat that I'm going to, and the second half of the week is a trip that I am chaperoning with teenagers that I have to meet them there, and I have to juggle my kids. And I had this ridiculous dream last night that has to do with going to the bathroom in front of people. And I was sharing it with Tina in detail. I will spare the rest of you. I didn't spare poor Tina. She got all the details.
Yeah, my ribs already hurt from laughing. So listen,
it was just so ridiculous. And it's like, it's begun. When I stress, even though I don't even realize I'm stressing until the dreams start. And then I'm like, I'm stressed. That's what happened last night. But yeah. And in short, I was in public in a room with friends, and it wasn't even a toilet. So that's all I'm going to share. So it's just so ridiculous. But anyway, that's up with me. What's up with you?
Well, are you going to move your deadline for your blurb like maybe to June 1st so you can feel a little less pressure about it?
Guess what June 1st is? That's when my daughter graduates. That's her graduation day.
Never mind.
I know. Like, yes, I do. You know what? This retreat has a lot of downtime. So I think I'm going to prioritize me during that downtime. Last year, I had hung out with friends, and which is good too, but I think maybe that I can get it done this week, honestly, maybe because I don't have everything else here, like distracting me. So yeah, that's my plan. So I forgot to mention our chat. Catherine is here this morning. Good morning, Catherine. And she says it's beautiful in her part of Michigan. She's in Michigan as well. She said Frankfort. Where's Frankfort, Michigan?
I have no idea.
How come I don't know that? Isn't it farther north? Isn't she up north from here? We say up north.
Up north.
Which is so funny. My cousins grew up in my mom grew up in Taylor, Michigan too, but my cousins grew up in Romulus, which is Detroit. They grew up in Detroit. And I remember hearing them say once, I told my friends we were going up north for the weekend. I'm like, oh, where are you guys going? And they're like, here. And I'm like, this isn't up north, because it's subjective, right? Depends on where you live, what is up north. So
Google says that Frankfort is southwest of Traverse City on the seam side of the mitten, opposite of the thumb. Yes, up north.
That is up
I
north.
I was gonna say I remember her saying something about Traverse City one time.
Yes.
So
She says near Lake Michigan in the chat. Oh,
Ooh.
Lake Michigan. It's my favorite of all of them. Purpose Behind the Pen says, I'm almost done with the first chapter in multiple works in progress. I am in an ongoing battle with my 16th and 17th novels. Ooh, girl. Me too. I'm in a battle to get there.
so what I hear you saying is it doesn't get easier.
Right.
Oh,
That's what I hear you saying.
it's
Yeah.
so relatable, I guess, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, Jamie, what's up with you today?
Okay, so for my what's up, I have a story of newer is not always better.
Okay.
So I want to start by saying that I don't want this to turn into a debate about the merits of iPhone versus Android, because I will just tell you
Oh.
I have had both, but I have had this same iPhone for, I don't know, 10 years. Like I'm telling you, it's one of those things where if a young person walks by and sees my phone and they're like, whose phone is this? It's old. It still has a button. I will tell you, it is a 6S Plus. 6. Now,
Wow.
phone is on 15, if that tells you anything. And
Right.
my 6S Plus function like a dream. I have an AT&T plan. I could talk to anybody, anywhere, anytime. Terrific. But, you know, my kids would give me a hard time, 6, iPhone 6. And I'm just like, but it still works. Well, then you hear that they're going to stop supporting and eventually things are going to not work.
Mhm.
And my schedule app for the restaurant suddenly would not work anymore. You had to have a newer operating system than my phone could support. So I said, okay, I will get a new phone. Now, I did buy a used phone, but I got an iPhone 13. A 13, and they're at 15. And the reason I picked the 13 was because people who worked for the phone said, you only need the 13, it's just as good, whatever. Paid a lot of
Mhm.
money. I didn't pay brand new, but
Mhm.
I paid a lot of money.
Uh-huh.
And that phone is garbage. Like I'm
Oh,
driving down the
no.
road and it's what my friends say is happening is like it sounds like I'm muting and then unmuting myself. Calls are dropping, apps aren't switching like they should. With my 6S Plus, I could have, I could be out and about and still use all of my apps.
Mhm.
Sometimes I would have to worry about whether I had the Wi-Fi turned off. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I didn't ever really have to think about anything. This phone just will not function in any way. So I came home and I wrote to the place where I bought it. I am returning this piece of junk and I am putting my SIM card right back into my old phone, which I wonder, did I get a dud of an actual unit? And
Yeah.
so maybe I will try again. But for now, I am sticking with like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna have to find a workaround for apps. But like, I know you've got a little computer in your hand, but for me, I need to call with the phone.
Yeah.
Like, if you cannot make a call, I don't want it,
Agreed. Yeah. Because we're still that generation that actually uses the phone as a phone, so
Yes.
I understand. And I've never owned an iPhone. My husband did, and for one, like, 2-year period, and he hated it. But this is the question. It's so weird that you talk about this, because I brought this up with the guy it was actually the guy at Walmart, in there, because I went to buy a block to plug my cord into for my Mac, a new block. Um, Anyways, he was very knowledgeable about computers, and we just got started chatting. It was early in the morning, and got talking about Android versus iPhones, and I love my Pixel. Samsung was good. I had it for years, but the Pixel, I just love it. But I have to get a new laptop. And just from all my research, I love my Lenovo Yoga. Love it. The only thing that has, like, not held up on it is what do you call this part here? The hinge.
Hmm.
So I can't keep opening and closing it now because it's gonna ruin it. So, like, and the battery life is shot on it. It's a desktop basically now, right? But I need a laptop, and all the research really does point to Macs being a better laptop. But when you make that jump, then you tend to make the jump with the phone too, because everything works together. Like my Pixel works with my PC in a way that Tina's iPhone works with her, laptop. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm
Yeah.
gonna do. I'm so
And I'm
sad.
having that same problem with both my desktop iMac and my
Mhm,
MacBook, that they're older and the
mhm,
operating systems are not good enough for, like, Microsoft Word 365 is updating, and
mm.
my computers aren't the operating systems aren't good enough to do the updates.
Yeah, I guess I should be more clear. I do have a Mac laptop. I bought one a few years back. I don't know if you guys remember. I bought it used just so I could do
Mhm.
Vellum, and it a dream because Vellum is not a very heavy app. Like it doesn't need a real
Mhm.
big, and it works great. Um, but it won't update anymore.
Hmm.
So
I neither.
I'm hitting the same problem that you're hitting with your phone. And so where are you going to invest your money? Because it is an investment for sure. It's an investment. So
Yeah.
Well, I did also buy a 6S, not a 6S, an SE3, which is the oldest phone you can buy that will still run the 17 operating system. But I'm just
mhm,
waiting on a SIM card to get here to try that phone. So I'm going to
mhm,
see if it's like the 17 operating system that's the problem, if it's like the
mm,
5G that's the problem, or if it was just this unit that I got, because like nothing changed. I just took one SIM card and put it in. So same service, same
right.
network, same towers. You know what I mean?
Mhm, yeah, yeah.
It was so funny because I would have to say to my friends, "Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?" And then like if I said everything just like that over and over, like 3 times, they could hear it. So I kept doing that, and we were laughing so hard that we were almost like peeing our pants. And then I got home and sat down at my desk in the other room. They could hear me just fine. So like I don't even know what was going. I mean, and it was so frustrating too
So
because
weird.
bless them, everybody's trying to like troubleshoot. Did you try this and did you try that? And it's like,
Mm.
yes, with the first person I had this problem with. I'm telling you, it's this phone. And I wanted to like chuck it into the lake. I'm glad I didn't chuck it out into the road or chuck it into the lake. I could package it up and get a refund on it. And so that is my tale of woe that I wanted to share with you today.
Um, if anyone listening is in the same boat that we are, as far as like having to upgrade soon or to, especially when it comes to laptops, I was listening to an episode of the Novel Marketing Podcast. I'm trying to find, I think it was Novel. Thomas Upstat has two different podcasts. And it's so hard to find the episodes on here. Anyway, he has an episode, I believe it's Novel Marketing Podcast, that is all about buying a laptop. And it's a great episode because it's not specific to just right now. He talks about what like operating systems and why the difference between a PC and a Mac and the things that matter, not like the shiny, like I like the shiny penny stuff, right? I love this laptop that I'm using right now because I love that I can use it as a tablet. I love that it's Star Wars themed. I like shiny penny, right? But he brings it down to really like the nitty gritty. And it was a really good episode. And I was never going to buy my next computer was not going to be Mac. And after listening to that, I think it's going to be Mac. So, anyways, just for your own update, your own information. All right. Well, today it is time for us to get into the episode. And today's episode is one that I know really nothing about. So this is exciting for me. Tina has been in the editing stage recently, and she does it's called, sorry, I'm trying to find, all right. So it's what is it? It's called stoplight editing, correct, Tina?
Right. It's like the stoplight method for
Okay.
editing. I actually took a course through the self-publishing formula that was taught by Jenny Nash, who owns, oh my gosh, I had that name of that company right on my
Mm,
tongue and it just like flew out of my brain. But if you look up Jenny Nash, it'll show up. And she has been an editor and worked for famous publications and all kinds of stuff. So,
is it Author Accelerator?
Author Accelerator, yes.
Okay.
Um,
So
And
you can still, if you, whatever we talk about today, if you find it interesting, you can still go take that course. Is that
yeah,
correct?
it's still available. Yes,
Okay.
on self-publishing formulas university thing.
Okay.
And so they asked me to be a beta tester for this program, and I really liked it, and so I've been using it, and I really like how it works with my brain.
Okay.
So for
That's the key,
me,
isn't it though? Isn't it the key is
yeah,
to find something that works with how you work and how you
yeah,
think, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and my intellection and my learner really, really just loves this method because I get to go back and review the course and like almost like learn it over again because it's a couple years since the last time I edited, and there were things
Mhm.
that I had forgotten or
Mhm.
things that I just didn't pick up on because I was in a different place as a
Mhm.
writer. So I really like it, and so I just thought I would share the kind of the skeleton framework of how it works in case anyone was curious.
And it's called the stoplight method because it's a color coded method, right?
Right.
Which that speaks to me.
Yes.
Like, can I use post-it notes too?
You could use post-it notes. You could do it however you like. It's just
Mhm.
the method is you use the colors to differentiate what kind of edits they are.
Okay.
So if you wanted to use purple, green, and yellow, like you could do that. You just want to like have separate out. But let's start at the first thing you do. The first thing you want to do is make a reverse outline, and that's what I've been working on.
Okay.
Some people call it two-tiered outline. Some people call it's been called inside outline. I call it the reverse outline. And I gave you a copy of mine so you could put it up so everyone can see what I do.
Yep.
Um, so basically, for every scene, you write a synopsis of what happens in every single scene, and then you write the point of that scene. So that's like the inside part, like that's the main character's inner motivation, kind of why, the why of the
Mm.
whole thing. So
Okay.
I do that for every scene.
Okay.
And in my outline, you can see all these different colors. That's because I have 3 point of views in this book. So
Oh, okay.
Angelica's point of view is pink, and Taslina's point of view is orange, and Petra's is blue. So if you scroll down just a little bit, you see the because of that. So you want the scenes to lead to the next scene. Like that's one of the things you're looking for when you're um, looking over your manuscript. So you put the because of that so that if it doesn't flow, like if the because of that doesn't work, you know that that's a issue that you have to go work on. And so the pink has to yeah, like I'm going to skip the orange, so the because of that goes to the next pink when you have different characters. So
Okay.
because of scene 3, scene 5 happens with Tazina. And because of scene 2, scene 4 happens with Angelica.
Okay.
So that's how it
So
works.
let's back up a little bit. So you take your scene, I'm gonna go all the way to the top here. You take your scene and you write a short synopsis of it. So you
Right.
say scene one, short synopsis, and then the point. Explain the point. So then you're gonna write the point of the scene.
Right. The point is usually the inner stuff that's going on in your character. So I wrote this scene. Angelica is being trained to be a fighter, and she wins
Mhm.
her match, and she's feeling really good about herself because
Mhm.
she's going to rescue Petra, and she feels like she can defend herself. She feels like she's got it all together. And the point of that scene is that because this whole book, the theme of this whole book is about unshakable faith.
Okay.
So the point is Angelica's faith is too dependent on herself, her skills, and the decisions that she makes. She is impatient and desperate to find Petra. So that's like my starting point for her
o-
faith arc for the whole book. So I
Okay.
started with this scene that was going to show that she had some growth that needed to happen here. She
Okay.
had too much faith in learning to fight and her ability to do things.
So when you say because of that, you're referencing the point, not the synopsis,
Right.
correct? So
Well, it
then
could be the action. Like if Joe got killed because of that, like they're having a funeral. It could be that, but it's kind
okay.
of your choice.
Okay. So in this example that's on the screen right now, so because I know we have people listening, so they can't see these things. You have a synopsis for scene one, and then for the point, it says Angelica's faith is too dependent on herself. You just read that part.
Yep.
Because of that, now we're at scene two synopsis, which is slogging through the rain-soaked valley with its physical and mental challenges causes Angelica to struggle. So because she is dependent on herself, the next scene that's written, the actual scene synopsis, is a reaction of the
Right.
point.
Yeah.
Right.
She's got
Okay.
too much dependence on herself. Now she's struggling.
Okay.
Now she didn't expect it, the rain and the weather that's different from where she came from, and now she's really struggling both physically and mentally, and she realizes she's not as strong as she thought she was.
Okay. So that's the first step. You do this for your entire book,
You do it
every
for the
scene.
entire book. Yes.
Okay.
And you're not analyzing anything yet. You're just putting in your scene and the point of it, and you're doing the entire book. And I did the scene synopsises first, and I wrote those in a notebook. And now I'm in the process of typing them up and adding the points. So if you were to scroll down far enough, you would see that I don't have the points in yet. But that's what I'm in the process of doing.
Gotcha.
So if you're somebody who plots, haven't you already done this?
Maybe, but the problem is sometimes when you plot, the plot changes as you write.
Mm,
Ah,
So this is what you actually have.
right. And I would argue that maybe you would already have done this, but sometimes plotters get so into then this happened, then this happened, then this happened, more of the action and not so much the story or the arc. So
interesting.
this is taking what you've written and making sure that it's not just the plot or the action, but the story is also there too.
Right.
And theme and things like that.
Right, correct.
So once you have that all done, this is the part where you're going to analyze and then you're not going to get your whole manuscript out to do this part. You're going to use your outline.
For the reverse outline?
You're
No,
going to
you mean for
use
step 2.
for step 2, you're going to use your reverse outline. You're going to use it to find your red light problems and your yellow light problems.
All right, so
Mm.
step 1 was reverse outline.
Right.
Step
Step
2
2
is
is
red light.
analyze what you have.
Okay.
So a red light problem would be huge plot holes. It would be because of that doesn't work. Maybe you had a character that you had in the beginning that you didn't tie up their story at the end. Those are things that are going to take you longer, a little bit more work, and a lot more thought to get done to fix it.
Okay.
So those are red light problems. Yellow light problems are medium level fixes. Dialogue, like if you have too much dialogue, not enough dialogue, or if it doesn't flow right, and that problem, some of those yellow light issues are going to be in your manuscript. Some of them are going to be on your outline.
Okay.
The scene drives the next scene, so that's one of the things. Info dumps that you might need to move, like you might have too much info and you might need to like cut it up into pieces and move it around, or scenes might be too long or too short, that kind of thing are the yellow light issues.
Okay. So I know that I'm slow, but we're going to have to back up a bit.
Okay.
So did you say that you do the analyzing from your outline, not from your actual work?
Right. Especially the
Okay.
red light issues. Most of the red light issues and a good chunk of the yellow light issues you're going to be able to see on your outline.
I have a feeling that you might see them as you're creating the outline, in which case you might just kind of want to make a note and keep going so that you don't get stuck.
And you could see that on the one that I showed you, because I had in brackets. I had show more of her struggle with her faith. It's down in the second. It's in the second scene with Angelica. See the dark
right
that I
there.
put in
Yeah.
brackets? That's something that I noted when I was like skimming through that scene to write down my synopsis. Then I put that there so I wouldn't forget that was a note that I made to myself.
That particular note you would say is a yellow light.
That's a yellow light.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the colors, you're gonna go through and you're gonna fix the red lights first, correct?
Right.
Do you make a separate document where you list out all your red lights, all your yellow lights?
Yes. That's what
Okay.
I have a document, a list of red light issues, yellow light issues, and green light issues you ignore for now. Green light issues are line edits. So that's like
Gotcha.
punctuation and spelling and grammar and the things that a line editor would do for you.
Okay.
Um, so you start with your red light issues and you fix those. Um,
Okay.
and then when you're done fixing the red light issues, then you go through and you fix your yellow light issues. And this is not a chronological fix. You're not going to go from the starting point to the end. You're going to take it by issue, because sometimes you have an issue with a character and it's in chapter 1, it's in chapter 6, it's in chapter 12, and it's like
Mhm.
a continuing issue that you have to fix all at once.
Right.
So you're going to go by issue, not by necessarily starting at the beginning and go all the way through your book.
Interesting. So with this stoplight, I hope I'm not getting out of order, but with
No,
this
you're fine.
stoplight method, does this happen? Is this like the first kind of editing you do? Put the end, you finished writing it the first time. Um, I w- I personally walk away for at least a week, usually a month, and then I come back and I start reading it again. Is that when you do this, or do you do a couple edits first and then do this?
I do a read through
Okay.
and then I do this.
Okay, so this is really early on in your editing process.
Because
I
my instinct is to fix all the spelling and the grammar and the punctuation.
Mm,
And why are you going to do that when you have these red light issues that you need to fix?
right.
And then you're going to have to just do it again.
Yeah, or erase some of the work that you did because you did it on some red light issues. Like the red
Right.
light makes a lot of sense to me because those are the big things, like,
Mhm.
massive plot holes, or recognizing that you used to call someone this name and then you call them this name, or whatever. I totally get why that would be a good first step.
Yeah. I also really love um the point, doing the synopsis and then doing the point, because I think that because we know we sit down and sometimes we write in sprints and we're trying to get to the finish line, and I always say you can't edit a blank page, so just write. But that at some point you have to go back and you have to make it like
Mhm.
readable, right? And I love that this makes you stop and connect your chapters.
Yeah.
Like, I think that some people just it happens naturally, but some people it doesn't. So this could elevate everybody's writing in a way that makes you take and look at, okay, I wrote this scene, so what?
Yeah.
How does this scene affect the next scene? And I love that. Yeah.
Right. And well, I also love it because I like the story genius method of plotting. And the
Hmm.
story genius method is exactly that, a scene and a point
Okay.
when you do it. So you plan it that way, and then it's this kind of like going at the end, okay, that's what I plan to do. What did I actually do?
Mm,
And then it makes it just that much stronger. And once you have all the red light issues fixed, then you
hmm.
fix the yellow light issues. And you do it the same way. You don't go from beginning to end. You take it like issue by issue, and whatever part of the book you need to jump to do that, you fix each issue. Like to start with the hardest one first. Like in the red light, the worst problem fix first, and then like so it's kind of like going like this.
Mm.
So then, and I just like to do it with the yellow too. Fix the hardest thing first, and then the easiest thing at the end.
I love that too, because sometimes when you fix that hardest one, sometimes it takes care of the little ones.
And it
Mhm.
gives you momentum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do like this idea. It's helping you to prioritize the editing process and helping you to get started, because sometimes the whole thing is just so overwhelming because your
Yes.
mind will just race. And in your racing mind is a mixture of the red and the yellow and the green. And it makes
Yes.
it seem like such an overwhelming amount of work. But if you look at it like, I'm going to fix this red light issue right now, instead of I'm going to go and edit my book,
Hmm.
Right.
it really helps it seem a lot more manageable.
And I need that for my personality type. when I look at a whole book that needs editing or revising, I just feel overwhelmed and I don't want to do it.
Mhm. Exactly.
And
I
this
really
gives
am.
me little chunks, little bites to take.
This is a very inspiring episode for me. Thank you.
Yeah, me too. I didn't think I was gonna okay, I might be a little stubborn at times. I know you guys are gonna disagree with that.
No.
We need stubborn people in the world sometimes.
But like I have like a system and it works for me. But honestly, I think a lot of what I do is this, but this is so much more organized with it that like kind of what Jamie was alluding to, it's organizing my thoughts to like help me like to instead of just sitting down to edit and it feels like I'm starting all over again and trying to like start from the ground up. Like this gives me a way to organize my thoughts and to give me a process for which to put what I was kind of already doing, but in a way that just makes it feel less overwhelming. I love it.
Yeah. Does it kind of feel like when you sit down and you read the sermon title and you think this sermon has nothing to do with me?
And then by the end, you're
But
crying.
I sure wish so and so were here.
Yeah. My pastor just last fall talked about that. About if you're sitting there and you're thinking, I wish so and so was here, then you need to check your heart. I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah,
So
this is great.
if you were to buy the course, you would get more, like a more fleshed out, because she has like a list of 10 questions to look for when you're analyzing your manuscript and all that. And it's a paid thing, so I don't feel comfortable telling you what the
No.
questions are or any of that. This is just the like basic bones of the method. And so basically green light issues are the issues that are line edits.
Mhm.
And that would be when I would listen to Word and I would listen for, like, because I'm horrible at knowing where the commas go. I either don't put enough or I put too many or I put them in the wrong place. But when I listen to it being read to me, I know exactly where my commas need to go. So
Right.
like that's when I use that.
Okay, so let's stop here for a second because we got off track about how excited we are about this. But so the red light level, you find them in this document that we're looking at right here. We,
Yes,
we
I do.
find them in the synopsises that you're doing for each of the scenes and then the point and the because of that. But your yellow and green light, do you do that in the manuscript?
Some of your yellows are going to show up in this. Like the one that I added for scene 2, that's a yellow
Mhm.
light issue.
Okay.
Some of some of the info dumpy stuff or needing to pare down the dialogue or add more dialogue, or like fix your dialogue tags, I would consider those yellow light issues. But
Okay.
you're going to find those in your manuscript. And when you do your green light, that's when you do it front beginning to end. You start
Okay.
at the beginning and you go through.
Because I see in our notes here for the episode that you get out your manuscript, mark with a yellow and green pen, and I am already there for it. Like I have which shade of yellow or green should I choose from my pen stash over here? But that makes sense to me. Like, because if I'm doing these in order like this and following the system, I would want it color coded so that as I'm going through and I'm looking for yellow, I come across a green. I don't want to just ignore it. That my mind doesn't work that way. But if I take the green and I mark it up right then, and then I can move on. I don't have
Yeah.
to fix it. I don't have to stop there. But
Right.
I
So
can
like if when you're doing your synopsis, if you're going through and reading it and you see a yellow or green light issue, you can just highlight it. Some of the examples she showed in the course where she showed other people's manuscript. She had, or even this part, she had put comments on, how you get a Google Doc and then there's comments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She had written them in the appropriate color.
Ah, I like that even more.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That is great.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
that is the stoplight method. It's simple and hard all at the same time.
Yeah. I love it. I think that I don't know that I would call it hard. I think that it might feel like it is takes time. That it might take time. But I feel like, and you guys can maybe agree or disagree, but I feel like for me at least, the time that I put into doing this is going to save me time
Hmm.
in the overall edit of it. And so I'm willing to try. I'm not at editing stage right now, so I'm going to have to go back and watch this episode when I am to get myself excited about it again. But
Well, not only that, sorry, go ahead, Jen.
no, I'm done.
You can spend a lot of time editing or thinking, okay, you can spend a lot of time knowing that you have to get busy on editing. Or you can just sit down and do this reverse outline. And you don't
Yeah.
even have to really call it editing. It's just a way to spend some time with your book, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
And so it feels different than editing your book. And meanwhile, you've gotten a step closer to actually getting your book edited. And so it's like a gentle easing you into, and then going through your book this way would maybe reinvigorate you and get your passion fired up again about your project. So I'm really thankful for this episode.
Yeah, and when you're all done doing all of this, that's when you mail it or send it to your editor. And so can you imagine how much better your book's going to be?
Yeah.
That you have gone through all of this process and now you're sending it to the editor.
How much your editor's going to thank you.
Yeah.
Right. And they'll be free to find the more nuanced things that you just didn't see.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely great. All right, awesome. Thank you, Tina, for bringing that to us. And I can't wait to try that out. And again, this was a course that Tina paid for. We're not going to give you guys any more. There is more in the course than obviously what we shared.
Well, I didn't pay for it. I did get to do it for free because I was a beta tester.
But still.
Nice.
But it is a paid course, and I would have paid for it. Having gone through it and looking back, it was worth what I would have had to pay for it if I had to pay for it.
That's awesome. All right. All right, ladies. Well, without further ado, it's time for us to move on to our favorite time of the show, which is the feeding of the backs. So this is our feedback time. For those of you that are new to our podcast, we pick a prompt earlier in the week. And then on Fridays, we sit down and we set a timer for 15 minutes and we write to that prompt. We don't edit it. We don't look at it again. We just come back on and we read it live, raw and everything. So our feedback for this is just encouraging. We don't criticize because it's not been edited. That's a whole nother episode on writing groups. But Jamie always picks on me when she's hosting. So I'm going to pick on Jamie and have her go first. So Jamie, will you share with us what today's prompt was and then share with us what you wrote?
Yes. Today's prompt is a sentence and it's in quotes, which according to our rules means you need to use it exactly as is. So in quotes, courage and stupidity were all he had. So I'm really curious to see the different sprints that everybody comes up with today. But here's where mine took me. Courage and stupidity were all he had, she said, sniffing and sipping from her tea in a gesture so singular Dora wondered that the stiffened and pallid matron didn't aspirate the contents of the cup. Good thing, I suppose. If Gertie Thornbuckle were ever to be married, it would take a healthy dose for the undertaking. Should be dose of both, whatever. Okay. Dora knew better than to challenge the old matron on this point and used the excuse of sipping from her own cup to disguise the true intention behind her lack of response. Her younger sister, seated to her left, fidgeted, and Dora knew what that meant. Rosalie was from a generation not afraid to speak up against the unfeeling comments of her elders, and having been brought up in the pampered style of her generation and having never known the discomfort of doing without, was impervious to the repercussions of doing so. Dora repented taking a seat so far from her younger sister as to prevent dispensing a small silencing pinch or nudge. I think you're being unfair, the beautiful young creature almost whined, and Dora leaned forward as much to replace her tea on the tray as to provide a physical and visual barrier between the two ladies. Her mind desperately sought a different topic of conversation to which she could steer them, but to no avail, and Rosalie carried on. George Stimple is just as much of an intellect as any of the muddle-headed young men you've brought around here to associate with Gertie. Why, I often wonder what her parents would have made of the provision you've made for her in this regard. Gertie is marrying high above her station, the woman said, bolting to a position even more upright. Dora imagined she saw her neck grow by as much as an inch and a half with the movement. Above her station. Did you ever hear such a thing? Rosalie muttered this around the rim of her own cup. And I'll have you know that's more than her mother or father could have ever dreamed I would have provided for her. Dolly cleared her throat and stood. Oh my, it is a bit stuffy in here for my taste. I believe I'll take a turn outside. Rosalie, dear, would you join me? Rosalie opened her mouth with what was sure to be a protest, but Dolly fixed her sister with a look that intimated no answer but yes would be accepted. Oh, well then, she muttered and rose. Won't you join us, Mrs. Wimple? Dolly offered, adjusting her hat as a pretext to avoid eye contact with the old woman. And then my timer went off.
I love it. I feel like I have been parts of conversations like this where I am trying to subtly, I've also been Rosalie. Let's be honest. I'm probably Rosalie more often than anything. They're very real. I love the characters. I love Mrs. Dalrymple. I just love to hate her. It's so well done. I feel like it's in the South because they're drinking tea, maybe. I don't know. I feel like, but they're talking about their station. And so it could also be something that's what's the word I'm looking for? Regency period. I don't know. I just love the characters. That's what stood out for me. So
thanks.
I like how the names kind of gave away the time period. And then so you're looking for those cues about the time period and that they're sitting around drinking tea and talking about marrying above your station. And I really in my mind, they were in England back in the Regency period.
But for me, the names Rosalie and Dolly, it felt Southern to me. And then I wasn't sure if they were drinking iced tea or regular tea. Again, we're listening, not reading, right? So that makes it harder. So
yes, and it's tricky too because as I'm writing and trying to keep that inner editor strapped down or whatever, these decisions are forming in my head, but then I'm trying to be careful about what I write because maybe that isn't accurate for the period, right? And so I hate that I trip up there because if I'm authentically just going to speed write, I'm going to jump around and be inaccurate all over the place.
Yeah, but that can be fixed.
I know, but then I think it's the pressure of knowing that this will be shared maybe that inhibits you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I was going to point something out and maybe I'm wrong in this now. I was going to point something out to our listeners that I thought you made a choice to do. You changed the character's name from Dora to Dolly. And I thought you chose to do that. I thought that as you're writing I thought that as you were writing, the character was becoming more real to you, right? Because you're sprinting it, and that you just decided that she felt more like a Dolly, which probably is true. That's probably what happened to you, and that you changed her name, and then it's a sprint because you can go back and fix it later. So just go ahead and change your name. If she feels more like a Dolly now, then just go with it. So that's kind of what I assumed.
What's hilarious is that's her third name because she was originally Lydia. And if you watch me, I actually film when I sprint and it streams to our YouTube channel. So if you wanted to go over there and watch, you could watch me go up and change the first mention of her name. So that's interesting that her name changed again. Yeah. But again, all of that gets fixed in editing.
Right.
But I was going to say, a turn about the lawn or a turn in the garden or whatever, that piece there. But I was worried about it being accurate. So I did outside just because of that. So it's just an interesting thing when you're gonna, what we're doing is different than real sprinting, I feel.
Yes, a little bit. Plus, it's shorter. So everything you're saying
Ah.
right now really kind of leads into mine, because mine is a disaster, because all of those things you were saying is what I struggled with today. Like, I wanted to be accurate, and it made me stumble through, and I went back and I erased like a whole paragraph, because I'm like, that's not accurate, when I should have just left it and been like, I can fix it later. But I had it's referencing something that happened in the Civil War, and I had the action backwards. I had the Union doing what the rebels had done, and then I realized it, and I'm like, because there was the Battle of Shiloh, the rebels are the ones that attacked. They ended up losing. It was a win for the Union, but that was on the second day. Um, but it was, so I had it all written wrong, and so now I have like something that's very like not hardly anything, if that makes sense. So
Mm.
again, because if this had just been me sitting down, setting a timer, and sprinting, I would have, like, not felt the stress of having to have it right the first time. I could have even gone back the next sprint and fixed it, but I'm like, I only have 15 minutes, which is 10 minutes shorter than a normal sprint, and which we do on purpose, because if we were to write for 25 minutes, it would take forever for us to get through the feeding of the backs,
Yeah,
which
for
sometimes it does
sure.
anyway. So, all right, so I'm gonna go now, setting that all up. I feel like I'm making excuses, but I'm gonna share what I wrote now.
All right.
Shane laughed. Come on, man, show a little courage. He had plenty of it back at Pittsburgh Landing. Cade shook his head. Courage? More like stupidity. Shane sobered. That's not how I remember it. There was plenty of stupidity surrounding the war, but never from you. I don't follow stupid. Cade's mind flashed back to the moment the rebels stormed out of the woods near the Shiloh church, taking him and all the church union soldiers. And I put a bunch of X's, because this is when I realized I'm spending way too much time on the history, and I can come back and fix that. But Cade hadn't any reason to return home. Charlotte had already broken off their engagement, and his friends labeled him a traitor. At that point, courage and stupidity were all he had. Why did you follow me? Cade asked. Since the Battle of Shiloh, Cade and Shane had been inseparable. When Cade returned home and discovered his brother had married Charlotte, it was Shane that had encouraged him to move west. I was a lone wolf, Shane began. Shiloh was before any official colored troops, and even though the Union boys were willing to lay down their life for victory, that fervor didn't extend to 3, 2, 1.
Ooh, I like him.
I do too.
I like the lone wolf who's gonna trust, and he's gonna be like the reader. Yeah, Cade, realize how awesome you are.
I want to give you guys some information that I couldn't get to, but we're not supposed to do that before feedback. So,
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm just really excited about this, and I really want to know just more. And I love history. Like, I am a history nut, and so anything with the Civil War in it just kind of lights up my fire. So I
I
really
would
enjoyed that.
Yeah,
yes.
I liked hearing that little bit about it was before that there were colors. I also want to hear more about the politics of this guy, and yeah, why did he follow Cade? I mean, and then also the bombshell of the brother marrying the girlfriend, although I thought we heard that before. So I'm wondering, is this the first time we're hearing it as a reader? And we don't know, because this is not like structured yet,
It's
right?
a sprint. Yeah, I don't know. I do know that I haven't put enough of the Civil War into the book yet. And the whole time these two guys met in the Civil War, and I hint at it. I hope you guys picked up. Like, and I've hinted throughout the writings that I include Shane, but Shane is the bastard son of a plantation owner, and his mom was a slave. His mom was actually half white too. So he was fighting for the North for obvious reasons, but they had not, by the time Shiloh happened, they had not set up the colored troops. They did have troops of black soldiers, but it had not been sanctioned yet. They had not, the government had not decided to do that yet. And so there were random men that left the South to fight for the North. And so that's where Shane falls into it. And that's how he and Cade met. And
One of my favorite songs is by the Steel Drivers, and they have this song called "Can You Run?" And
Mm,
it's about a slave who's there's a battle going on, like basically in the
mm,
yard where he is, and he's like, "Come on, I'm gonna run and I'm gonna join the North and fight."
mm,
I
yeah,
feel like if this is the first time we hear about Charlotte marrying the brother, is a beautiful irony of a bombshell when you're talking about
yeah.
a war. So if you decide to
Oh,
leave it that way, you have
yeah,
a
that's good.
bombshell for the reader.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. Anyway, it's really a skeleton, but I love what this scene could do. I just hate that we had to fit it in 15 minutes and I just couldn't accomplish it. So,
I know. And I wonder too if like we should individually, me, I wonder if I or whatever need to think about how I'm approaching sprinting for this show as far
mm,
as like changing my having a I don't know, change of perspective about what the purpose of it is or whatever.
right.
Anyway, thanks for sharing, Jen. I
Thanks.
appreciate it
Thanks for
and
the
enjoyed
feedback.
that.
All right, Tina, save the best for
Okay.
last.
I was really inspired by those videos that you say where the men like have all the different ladders in like stupid positions, then they're climbing
Oh,
with them.
golly.
And I this is all dialogue. I didn't put any kind of attributes. So here we go. Courage and stupidity are all he had. But is it stupidity if courage is involved? I mean, he did save the kitten from falling off the windowsill. How he arranged the ladders to get to it were simply what he had to do to accomplish the job. That wasn't the stupid part. The stupid part was when he shut the window while the kitten was still sitting on the sill, and then because it's old and it's been raining, he couldn't get the thing open again. I mean, if you see a kitten sitting on a windowsill, why would you close the window without picking it up and bringing it in first?
Aw.
Okay, well, maybe that is kind of stupid. But at least he was enough of a stand up guy to rescue the kitten after he got it into that predicament, I guess. And he is cute. Don't you find him attractive? He was a little attractive, right up to the point where he opened his mouth and started talking. I mean, we are adults. I have adult children, and he talks like the teenage boys I went to high school with. Pretty sure he got his life inspiration from Dumb and Dumber. Okay, so then you're not interested. No, I'm not interested. Sorry, I didn't mean to be so subtle about that. There's no need to get snarky. What about Elaine's friend Jim? He's kind of cute. Listen, Becky, not only is kind of cute not exactly on my list of things to look for in a man at this stage of my life, I'm not looking for a man at all, so quit trying to find me one. But Danny has been gone for 5 years now. Surely it's time to move on. I have moved on. I have my house by the lake, my garden, a job I love. I get to see my grandkids every day. I don't need anything else, especially a man. What's wrong with having a man? Honestly, the single guys my age aren't looking for what I'm willing to give. They want
Mm,
somebody to take care of them. I'm over that. I took care of all these kids and Danny for most of my life. I really don't want to take care of anyone else in terms of cooking and cleaning and laundry and all that. Now, if you find me a man who wants to do all the cooking and cleaning and laundry while I work and watch TV and occasionally fix something around the house, let me know. You're impossible. No, I'm just living for different reasons these days. What reasons are those? God, His will for me, my kids, my
mm.
grandkids, and peace in my own space, in my own mind, and not on another person's terms.
So good. The
Mhm.
I feel like this is a real person because I have had conversations with women who are widows that are this sounds just like them. Like, well done. I love that it was just all dialogue with no attributions. I love it when we do that because I feel like we just get so
Yeah.
much story out of it. And yeah, I thought it was great.
Thanks.
And there were two very distinct identities without even, I don't know if you used even one tag. It was really very
Mm,
clear when you switch from one voice to the other, and that's talent. So, really
thank you.
good job. Maybe it's because you heard Chris give you so many examples.
Yeah, my son, he writes almost all in dialogue when he writes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think it's just something that you just wrote, or do you think that it'll be something that you would
It,
want to?
it's just something that I just wrote because it was a prompt. And I had nothing else.
That's awesome. All right, awesome. Well, now that we've done that, it's time for us to bring it to a close. So it's time for us to share our what's next. Jamie, I'm gonna have you go first. What is next with you, friend?
I don't know. I'm really intrigued by this stoplight method. I think I'm gonna think about my book in those terms, if not actually putting pen to paper. Maybe just finding those red light issues as step one would help me to actually get back into it and tackle that project. So that is a seed that is planted for me. How about you, Jen? You got a lot going on.
I got a lot packing to go, but I'm gonna make sure I pack my laptop, and I really am gonna try to write the back of the blurb. I'm really gonna try to do that this week. So that's what's next for me. What about you, Tina? What's next?
Well, my son who lives up north, he sorry.
Call back.
He's got to put his car in the garage in the shop on Monday. So I'm driving up there tomorrow afternoon, and I'm gonna let him use my car and stay with them for a couple days till he gets his car back. So
All right.
I don't know how conducive staying at his house will be to working on my manuscript, but I'm gonna give it my best.
All right. Awesome. Well, we appreciate all of you that have joined us today live, and we appreciate everybody who listens to us. If you listen to us as a podcast, we appreciate that whatever app you use, that you would follow us on that app. And if you are a fan of us on YouTube, please like and subscribe so that we can find other Christian writers to join us in this crazy life that we call writing as Christian writers. So until next week, may your pen be prolific, may your deadlines be met, and may all of your words honor Christ. Bye, everyone.
Bye.